Hello and welcome to Pillars of Eternity Part 7. Last we left off we had a conversation with a dead dwarf, which in and by itself is a bit strange, but we now need to speak to Edér, so let's do that. The smell of pipe smoke, at once earthy and sweet, winds its way into your nostrils. Your eyes trace the smoke to its origin, where you find a broad man with straw-colored hair leaning against a mossy rock wall, his pipe held to his lips with one meaty hand. He looks at you directly in the eye, but the look is not aggressive. He regards you with a peculiar smirk.
17 and a half. Well, could be 18, depending on how you count the dwarf woman.
I'm sorry?
The dwarf woman. You were trying to figure out whether to count her as a full person. I think you oughta.
What are you talking about?
The people hanging from the tree. 18 of them. Well, last I counted, anyway.
Allah Thrones. Is that what you people do for fun around here?
Name's Edér. Though to the people around here, might as well be 19. Don't think I'd put you much higher than 22, 23 tops. You look like the sort that likes to get involved.
What makes you think I was interested in the dwarf woman? He looks at you a moment, his brow arched, his smirk broadens.
I was smoking over here, saw you staring at her. Twice I refilled my pipe. You never so much as blinked. Your mouth was so slack I took you for a Radric at first.
Do you know what a watcher is?
Careful, friend. Let's not use that word round here. There'd be any number of Radric bootlickers within earshot. Ciphers, animancers, watchers. Same thing in the eyes of folks around here, Radric especially. They come through these parts all the time with their cures, preying on the desperate. None of them are who they claim to be. Of course, seeing you with that funny look, I'd be halfway inclined to believe you were having some kind of communion with that dwarf. Either case, maybe I'm not 19 after all. No offense.
None taken. Good. They don't mean it personal when they hang folks around here. We try that again. Good, they don't mean it personal when they hang folks here. I have to remind myself.
The town's had it in for me for a long time now. Only fellow who ever stuck up for me, well, he's number 18 up there. My headman on the farm. Used to be my captain during the war.
The war? Satan's War. Only one in my lifetime. Fella decided he's the living incarnation of Earthus, overthrows Red Ceres, marches on Deerwood, so we gave him a Deerwooden hello. What's a Deerwooden hello?
We blew him up.
He smiles at this, but it's a smile of one recounting a joke for effect rather than enjoyment. Who is Earthus? God of rebirth and redemption. Formerly, anyhow. Maybe they call him something different where you're from. I had other questions. I got time. Why was your headman hanged? Got involved. Radric sent men down here the other day. Said they had it on good authority someone in town was working with cause plotting Radric's overthrow. Said if it didn't come forward right then and there, they'd hang every last one of us. No one was coming forward. So, Swithin, that's my headman, he stepped up and says it's him. They took him at his word. He sighs and shakes his head, his eyes fixed on the tree. Bound to happen sooner or later. If not for plotting against Radric, then for protecting me. What does your town have against you?
Pick the wrong god. That's what it comes down to. Used to be a lot of Vathus worshippers in Gilded Vale. That mess of rocks over there, owns a temple to him, to give you some idea. Then one day, somebody named Widewind shows up on Deerwood's doorstep. Says he's the living flesh of Aethys. Got an army with him. Suddenly, Aethys isn't so popular in these parts. My brother Woden and me, neither of us believed it. No way was that Aethys. He enlisted, then I did too. But, he didn't make it back. After the war, people took to punishing Aethys worshippers, accusing them of treason. Got real ugly, especially after the legacy started. Folks needed someone to blame. I was safe because I fought, but then this rumor starts that my brother, that he was on the wrong side. And I wasn't so safe anymore. Until my headman stepped in and said they'd have to hang him to get to me. Seems that's no longer a concern. Of course, the townies don't do the hanging these days, but when Raedric's men come, they got no problem doing the pointing.
Aloth glances at you and lowers his voice. You can see why I was so eager to leave. Who's Kolsk? Whatever he's called. I'll call him Kolsk. Someone who got tired of all the hangings. He's on the run now. Probably will be, so they catch him. If you're next to be hanged, what are you still doing here? He gives a half smile. Drinking, mostly. Point of fact, I'm on my way out. Just haven't figured where I'm going yet. Not a whole lot of places out here that don't think Waidwin's legacy started with Waidwin. We could travel together. Where are you headed? Some place called Cadnua. That's an old watcher. There's an old watcher there who might be able to help me.
Seem to remember hearing something about that years ago. He tamed that place. People would seek him out for all kinds of things. Troubles of the soul, questions for the departed. Of course, that was back when you didn't have to say watcher with a hush on your breath. A man such as that, there'd be things I'd want to ask him. Don't know why I never thought of it before. Not sure how I feel about setting out with a stranger, and a strange one at that. But, truth be told, you might be the only one in town who wouldn't feel some relief seeing me swing from that tree.
That's a fine reason if ever I heard one.
Alright then. Guess I'll do some sightseeing. Long as you're not the one picking the sights.
He tilts his head toward... try again. He tilts his head forward and gives you a pointed look. Let's get going. Hooray, Edér. And he is going to be my tank, so to speak. What level is he? He's level 3. He's not set up fully as a tank. Just want to see how much money I've got, if I can respec him. Not with that kind of money. What have I got in? We'll probably do for now, we can sort it later. But let us get the conversation with him done.
Hey.
I hope that old watcher's still there. Been years since I heard anything about him. What is it you want to ask this watcher in Cadnua? Just some things about the past, about the war. I've been thinking I missed my chance to find out what I wanted to know. That old watcher though, he opens up some new possibilities. I want to ask something about you. If you're sure. What did you do before this?
Oh, other than the war, I never strayed too far from where you found me. Farming, mostly. I was never much for cities. Never learned a trade. In my younger days, I thought I was going to go preach the word of Aethys, just in our temple there. My parents encouraged it. I made so much trouble for them growing up. They used to say it'd be best if I got in good with the God of Redemption. Of course, us blowing him up probably didn't help my chances there. But if anybody'd forgive you for blowing him up, it'd be Aethys.
Did the people of Gilded Vale really try to kill you?
They, they did. It was strange timing, because we just won the war. They celebrated when I came home. There was music and dancing. Trumbull used half his grain making this big honey cake. I still dream about that cake. Like having the best lover of your life, but only for one night. They were all sorry to hear about my brother. It took a while for word of the purges to reach us. Aethasians being murdered in the streets, cold morn and the like. No way would they let something like that happen in Gilded Vale. That's what they all said. But the weeks went by and the purges spread. Pretty soon they weren't so sure my brother fought for Deerwood. And they weren't so sure I did. Caught me by surprise after all the celebrating. Should have seen it coming after the tailor said he was gonna fit me for some new clothes, but then all he wanted was my neck measurement.
Really?
Nah, not that last part. But you had to think about it. Says a lot about the place I've been calling home all these years.
Why did you stay for so long in a town that hated you?
Well, I'm sure my parents are still wondering the same thing. The Aethasian purges were like this madness had come over the town, like a disease. Seems like when you see something like that, your instinct is to wait for it to pass, even when you know it probably won't. The family whose farm I worked on, they had a little Hollowborn girl. And they heard the Animancers had this cure, salvation it was called. They went running. This salvation, they were putting animal souls in children. You might have heard about it. Giving them enough personality to care for themselves. You can guess how that turned out. Matter of time, the children broke down. Became wild things. Monsters. Anyway, these farmers put the family dog's soul in their little girl. For a while, the girl, she's making eye contact, she's feeding herself, albeit in a kind of messy way. And one day she snaps. They found her gnawing on her brother's bones. Had to chain her up, put her in a cow pen. Well, the mother, she wouldn't have anything to do with the girl after that. But the father, he'd visit every day. Feed her chickens, toss water on her once in a while to get the dirt off. Most of the village, they'd whisper about him. Poor man, they'd say, sick with grief. He was just waiting for his daughter to look up one day and recognize her papa. He was waiting for her to get better. Didn't understand that at the time, of course, but these days I think about him a lot.
Do you have any family? Just my parents now. They took a ship back to Edér when the purges started. Wanted me to go with them, but I didn't see things like they did. Been a long time since I've seen them. I really should visit, but for some reason I haven't much felt like leaving home. Good thing they chased me out, or I might have never left. I want to ask you about something else.
What's on your mind?
I was wondering about Ursus.
It makes two of us.
What is there to know about Ursus?
If you're looking to find religion, maybe you want to start with a god that hasn't been burned to dust, but I won't stop you. Aethys, he was a young man with a silver crown. Carried a candle around with him. Sounds like I'm giving a bad eulogy here.
He was a lot of different things to different people, I guess. Rebirth, redemption, light. Out in the country, he's gone. The farmer, who helps all things pass, seasons and people both. He watches over the weak, does Gorn. Sees imbalances made right. You could see why all the copperless rowdies around here might take a liking to someone like that. He was real popular here for a time. These days you won't find too many worshipping Arthurs in the open. It's hard to know who still does it in private and who's given up. Feels like I'm the last one sometimes. He smirks. If that's the case, he deserves all the mourning. Do you still worship Arthurs?
In my way. I don't suppose he expects me to show up at his temple these days. Not much left to do for him other than keep his memory alive and keep hoping that he's just been playing a joke on all of us these past 15 years.
far as I know, he hasn't said anything to anybody since the Godhammer detonated. Why worship him then? He grimaces. Well, if it turns out he's not dead, and I gave up on him, I've had betrayed my god twice. Even the god of redemption gotta have standards. I'd probably be reborn as a fat, amorous horse. That's not really it though. Not all of it anyway. He casts a sidelong glance. Guess it's more I still believe in the things he believed in. I just hope his death doesn't mean the death of those things as well. Sometimes it looks that way. Why did you choose to worship Arthas in the beginning? Okay. Try again.
Raised that way. My family's been Aothasian going way back. Suppose it wasn't much of a choice at first. Don't know for sure why my family started worshipping him. Probably because of Gon looking after folks like us.
He looks you in the eye, conspiratorial. Could just as well be that my ancestors did something so bad only Arthas could forgive. It'll explain. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to because for some reason that word is not working for me. It would explain a lot about where I got some of my less respectable traits. Did you only worship him because that's how you were raised?
There was something I genuinely liked about Aothas. Always. Like he understood people better than the other gods. Knew all our flaws and weaknesses and accepted us for that. Folks are at their worst when they're afraid. A god like Aothas, he made you realize there was nothing to fear. Made you a better person. Of course, he goes away for a few years and look what happens.
What made you think Wadwin, something like that, didn't speak for Arthas?
Was his actions. Not when he started his rebellion, not even when he took over Rhaed Saris. It was when he sent his armies into Deerwood.
Up to that point he was sticking up for his people. That's what Arthas did, at least the Gorn part of him. Those farmers were starving and the government didn't lift a finger. I figured if it wasn't Arthas himself, at least he had the right idea. But then he sent armies across the border, even crossed it himself in the end. Word was he was chasing refugees that escaped the rebellion, wanted to punish them, and punish us for allowing them to live here. That just didn't fit for me. Those are the deeds of a vengeful god, Skaen or Vodicap maybe. Or just a man who's lost his sense. I still have trouble believing it, but there's no one left to ask if it's true. Tell me about the Purdues.
You sure you don't want to talk about something more pleasant? Like the War of Black Trees or the Legacy or something?
It's eye-opening, seeing just how naked you are when you got no god to protect you. The Saints' War was a hard time to beat at Deerwood. People thought it was the end times. They talked big about how we were gonna defeat a god, but I don't think there was a man from here to the White March didn't think he was gonna die. It does something to you, thinking you're gonna die at someone else's hand. There's a rage that comes, indignation. Imagine a whole country full of it. Might have been Cold Morn that started it. Town near the border. They let Wadwin march right on through. Rest of Deerwood cursed their names to the end of the war. Some say it was the Aothasians there that persuaded the town not to oppose the army. Others said it was just cowardice. It was like the Legacy that way. No one knew the real reason, so they just picked whatever one best suited what they wanted to believe. Either way, that town was burning before the first ashes of Arthas hit the ground, and it felt good to the people here, to be in control after being so helpless, so the fire spread. a lot of us Earthesians went the way of our god. There were claims from the Church of Macron that she'd actually commanded the purges. I found that hard to believe. Sounded to me like people doing what they wanted, wrapping their god around it like she was a cloak. Then again, that's what I thought about Wadwin. I want to ask you about something else.
What's on your mind?
Nothing more, let's keep moving. So, no, I know I'm not the voice actor that Matthew Mercer is, and that's why I don't try. I know it's probably a bit distorting, but anyway, we now have Edér in our party, so we can actually start doing something.
I'm here.
So my next port of call is we have a mother's plea and we have the Smith shipment, but we also have just to make sure, yeah.
Yes?
We also have a bear we need to deal with in Valewood, so let us be dull and head back to Valewood. So, bear cave. And a quick save. One. I want you to use the great sword, please. You.
Hey.
No AI script. Yeah, aggressive sounds fine.
Yes?
I don't know why quick saved outside, because I will do it again when we get inside. So, big nasty bear. So what we do now is we send Edér in first.
Hey.
Got it. Good. You can move over there and probably just attack it. As I was saying, it hits quite hard. Make it count. I haven't activated that, have I? No, I haven't. Activated now. Oops. Come on. Preferably before Edér goes down. Come on. Oh. That is a so-called modal action, which is just an aura basically. So it improves accuracy, which is
I'm here.
very nice for everyone in range, but specifically nice for a character that's relying on the hits, which my character of course is. So, I mean, you can always argue that all characters are relying on hits, but when you have a big slow weapon, then missing is painful. Mice crawls through the eye sockets and over females. Nice. Ah, a great sword, hooray! I can go straight into thingy, whatever. It's always the main character that speaks, so it doesn't matter who's responding to it. So A figure drifts suspended in the musty air of the cavern. Its form and features blur and twist in cascading ripples of incandescence. You feel its energy eddying about your limbs, filling them with a heavy chill. Reach out. You reach out a hand for the spirit. In the moment of contact, you feel as if you have been struck a blow, head reeling as you tumble helplessly into awaiting darkness. Light blooms at the edges of your vision. You feel the sun at your back and the weight of a bow in your hand. You know, suddenly, that you've come a long way from the vale hunting deer. Now you're standing before a cavern, and the darkness extends far into its depths. Even so, your friend strides out before you, his red cloak flapping at his heels. You follow, heart hammering in your chest as he leads you deeper into the cavern. There's a roar like thunder echoing around you. Fear seizes you, casts you stumbling back towards the exit, towards the light and escape. You see a glint of steel, and there's a sudden, terrible flash of agony behind your knee. You scream, stumble, fall. Your thoughts are chaos, lanced through with pain, but in a moment of terrible clarity you see your friend look back from the mouth of the cavern, his dagger daubed in crimson to match his cloak. And then there's a great dark shape above you, and then there's more pain. The vision recedes and you are thrown back into yourself with seemingly resentful force. The corpse lies at your feet and the spectre lingers. In the span of energy between you both, you feel a sense of questioning, of confusion, of anger. I met him on the road, your friend. A sudden lashing anger emanates from the spirit. Rage and grief seem to pour from the gleaming figure like smoke. I'll find him and see that he answers for what he's done to you. For a moment the spirit seems to burn bright and your head fills with a sickly triumph. The spirit seems to weaken with the force of its own exaltation, growing fainter and fainter until you are alone once more. Ah, vengeance from the grave. So the guy we spoke to some time ago, he
I'm here.
wasn't being entirely truthful. It's always nice. And I may as well drop that quest off because we have to go back through the Vale to get where we need to go. So, interesting. There's a note here apparently. Well, I know there's a note here, so I shouldn't feign surprise. My dear Nonton, please be safe and know that whatever happens, I love you still. Intriguing. That note wasn't there when he was there.
I'm here.
So, no. Half an hour's up, so I don't want to make these videos any longer than are absolutely necessary. So, for now, thanks for watching, take care, and see you again.